Manusha, and our presenter today is Mr. Deepak Bhagchandaney, CEO and founder of Syncroute. Deepak has extensive experience, exceeding 20 years, in the field of networking and telecommunication. Notice, before I ask Deepak to say something about his company, I would like you to take note of the chat box on the screen. Do type in any questions you may have for Deepak, and he will answer them at the end of the session. Deepak, can you briefly tell us something about your company and your key alliances?
Sure. Syncroute was a company promoted by me about 4 years back, and the prime focus was to focus on the capabilities of delivering engineering services for rolling out complex telecom networks, be it 3G kind of voice-centric or 4G, which are more data-centric network. Today, we are 120 plus man years of hardcore experience as the management, a staff strength of about 150 directly employable engineers. Beyond that, we have more than 300 subcontracted people. We are presently only in India, and we have pan-India operations, but for some difficult terrains like Northeast and J&K. Otherwise, we are a national company. Presently, Syncroute is in customer engagements for a variety of network engineering projects with Vodafone, Airtel, Uninor, and some big national network equipment providers like Nokia Siemens, Ericsson, Cisco, and Samsung. In fact, we are the only company in the country which has a 4G network for Bharti, and now in a very big way involved with Reliance for rolling out over 70,000 base stations for 4G network using Samsung product. From system integration capabilities, Syncroute has various technology tie-ups. Companies like Dell for server storage and computing environment, Dell HP for networking with Cisco, and a lot of wireless equipment providers like Sonos, Lightpoint, Radwin, Airspan, and so on and so forth.
Deepak, thank you. Notice Syncroute certainly sounds like a good place to start a career. Now, Deepak, can you share with us a little about the global telecoms industry and how it is evolving?
Sure. When we talk of global telecom industry, let us first and foremost understand that telecom is more of an infrastructure play than just a normal industry. You can very well compare telecom business with roads, utility, railways, electricity, that kind of an infrastructure. It's a very age-old industry and hence by far the largest in the size. With telecom as a base infrastructure, we can have various IT services riding on top of it and software applications riding on top of it. In size, sheer tenure of state, telecom is a very old and a big industry. Globally, if you see, there is a significant change or significant shift in the way the things are over the period of last 10 to 15 years. If you see, telecom is playing a very role in the GDP growth of any country. You would see it has the depth of the penetration of networks in the country is directly impacting the growth of the country. There is a huge capital outlay planned over this year and the next few years. You would see an evolving trend which is moving from just voice and data and SMS to broadband data, from copper to fiber, from wireline to wireless, and telecom is bringing about this shift in a very big way. Currently, the whole industry is operating in a very large ecosystem, which is comprising of right from telecom equipment manufacturers like Alcatel, Ericsson, Nokia Siemens, to telecom service providers, which are carriers like Vodafone, Verizon, T-Mobile, and so on and so forth. Then there are battery of VAS and IT service companies. There are hundreds of handset manufacturers, and then there are service engineering service companies like one ours. The whole overall ecosystem is very huge. And when I talk to potential budding engineers in telecom, I feel that anyone interested in telecom will find something or the other of interest to make his career in. Could be in equipment, could be in R&D, could be in software, could be in IT or services, engineering services.
Thank you, Deepak. Very enlightening. Now, could you share with us your thoughts on the telecom scenario in India?
Yeah, before I support India, I would want to just share one more important fact, and this is the one thing which is bridging, global telecom scenario with Indian telecom scenario. If you see in the last 15 to 20 years in India, we have seen a major shift in the telecom domain. Uh, from a point where the tele-density of was 2.73% about 16 years ago. I remember when I started my career 20 years back, it was about 2.73%, to now where the tele density has jumped to 77%. And this in any way is not short of a revolution. We in India very popularly call this as telecom revolution, which has happened the last 15 to 17 years in this country. So one of the very important key factors which are resulting into this kind of a paradigm shift in the whole industry, I think we can attribute this whole thing to the mobility or wireless. So long as the connections were wired, the growth was stunted or the growth was limited in a sense. As the mobility or wireless are emerging, it is possible to provision connections over the air and much faster. So mobility being one of the factors which has contributed to the growth globally in India. Secondly, India has witnessed a huge shift in terms of voice communication. So pretty much everyone seems to be having a phone and communicating endlessly on voice. However, increasingly what we are finding that there's a demand for a broadband data and broadband data on your hand, form of a smartphone. So what we feel is we have seen happening in voice over the last 15 to 17 years, the trend is going to repeat in the immediate future on data. And lot of governance issues for data point of view are already in place. For that matter, the auction of the spectrum for broadband data on 4G is already done about 4 years back, and the operators are readying their networks to launch in immediate future. Third thing important is that a lot of this growth in the global scenario, if you see, if I compare the data from 2000 to 2010, I have some statistics to show that there used to be a subscriber base in 2000 globally of just less than 700 million to now, which has grown to more than 5 billion. Now, this shift, one of the few of the major contributors to this growth in subscriber base, has happened by virtue of developing countries like India and China, who have a large population and hence a huge subscriber base. So these are the three factors which have been the growth driver in global economy as well as in India. Now, in India, the scenario, as I have been saying, that it's the second largest network in the world after only China. Now, Indian telecommunication industry is one of the fastest growing, and today, I mean, this data is slightly outdated when I've written this slide, but I just the day before yesterday in the paper, we have crossed 960 million subscribers. In terms of data, also the similar situation is visible, and hence, from a very low penetration of broadband data in the current stage, it is significantly expected to increase because of the mobile networks based on 4G and kind of technologies in the LTE space.
Thank you, Deepak. Now, notice just a word. There might be a slight delay. You might notice a slight delay in the responses, and that is because, the presenter and the moderator are in different parts of the world. So do bear with us, yeah? Now, Deepak, the next question is on what are the key skills needed to succeed and advance in your company?
Yeah. So when we talk about telecom as an industry, we have seen the prime driver for the growth in this industry has been the mobility or wireless. When we say mobility or wireless, all the engineering students will directly relate it to radio frequency or RF. The good knowledge of RF engineering is one of the key skills that we would look for, and a good knowledge is always a good asset, especially on RF part. As the networks are evolving towards 3G or 4G, that is higher broadband capacities, we are increasingly realizing that IP is a significant part of the transmission or a protocol which is required for communication. So till now, if you see age-old 2G networks, they used to work on TDM, that is time division multiplexing, which is more of a connection-oriented kind of a network. When you talk about it, it's a packet-based network. So a knowledge of RF and IP they were earlier belonging to discrete portions. Voice used to be on RF and data used to be on IP. But increasingly, RF and IP combination is happening, and that's what is giving birth to more data-centric technologies like LTE. So combined knowledge of RF and IP is very good, very essential skill set required. Plus, these all the telecom rollouts are a matter of huge project management and project rollouts. So project management skills are singularly very important from the point of view of handling the complex rollouts which are required over huge geographies. When you talk about technology, these are the important skill sets. When you talk about from account management or sales perspective, yes, understanding of services sales, selling the services to the end customer, be it communication services, be it bandwidth services, or be it engineering services. And also management of large accounts. Any telco or any NEP is a very, very complex account. And when I say complexity, it's not just complexity in terms of sheer size, but also in terms of the skill and knowledge level of the people you are interacting with. You would appreciate the fact that if you were to go and make a sale in railways, you are talking person who's skilled at railways knowledge and IT is just an add-on, or a telecom or a networking is just an add-on. But when you talk to a telco or telecom community service provider, you're talking to a person who's a very knowledgeable on the technology front. So technical knowledge is definitely important, and sales knowledge from the point of view of service, as in no tangible product, but just service sales and large account management are some of the key skills that I think are very essential.
Thank you, Deepak. The key skills that you have highlighted, both technical and soft, should be very useful to our Knodies out there. Now, the final question this morning is, in non-technical terms, what are the career opportunities available to aspiring graduates?
Okay, so when you look at the telecom network, and I would be more focused on highlighting the opportunities in the domain or the sphere where we are present, and that's with engineering. When you look at this, there are significant career opportunities available in this domain. Typically, right from a fresh engineer who passed out from an engineering college, one can target to get involved in the RF planning and design activity, going up to actually installing and commissioning the telecom network in the form of base stations or even BSCs. Once you are done with the commissioning, there is a lot of, again, RF activities which we typically classify under optimization. This includes several activities like drive test, single cell functional testing, benchmarking, cluster optimization, and so on and so forth. So a good RF and IP knowledge can give a career opportunity in the domain of operation. Followed by that, there's a of operations and maintenance. The ongoing operations and maintenance is a very, very important aspect of any telecom network. Now, you need to obviously keep operating your network from time to time and maintaining it regularly, not just because you need to do it, but also the regulatory of any country warrants you to do it. When you say regulatory, let me highlight, for example, in India, if you see, the regulatory is a body called TRI, and it mandates that the radiations or the EMF radiations being emitted from any cell site or any base station should be under a particular threshold, and one needs to submit these reports of emissions quarterly to the government. The regulatory mandated requirements which necessitate the operator to go in for getting these things done, which means companies like us, we do these services and we hire engineers who are skilled at doing all these things. So there is a lot of career opportunities in especially in the wireless domain.
Thank you, Deepak, especially in the wireless domain. Informative and enlightening presentation. Now we see some questions have appeared in the chat box. The first one being, obviously from somebody in Africa, do you plan to extend your services to Africa?
Well, that's like music to ears. Yes, absolutely. We are presently Indian local company, but with very strong aspirations for going international. Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Africa are bang on our radar, and in immediate or near future, in the coming financial year, we should be visible in these territories also.
All right. The next question asks, which telephone company is your biggest customer?
Presently, we are rolling out the 4G network for Reliance Jio. Those of you who are familiar from, don't mistake it with the existing Reliance Infocom. This is altogether new company floated by the elder Ambani brother, and they have very aggressive plans. They are our biggest customer. We are rolling out. We are a part of the team which is rolling out 70,000 base stations on 2.3 megahertz for 4G network, and we are doing it on turnkey basis, right from planning, designing, installation, commissioning, optimization, and O&M, turnkey.
Thank you. Now, a related question. Do you need only engineers or can you hire business guys with management skills?
Sure. The number of engineers that we deploy will definitely be much higher, but yes, business guys with management skill sets, especially in business analytics, is something which is very essential because when we do these the analysis of so it can get slightly complicated when you do the KPI analysis and so on and so forth. But yes, analytics skill sets from management guys will definitely be acceptable.
Final two questions. All right, the final two questions here. Are you hiring new employees in India?
By the day. I mean, my head count today morning and by the end of the day is different. So yes, we are.
Excellent. I'm sure the Knodis will be really excited to hear that. And the final question, is this sector equally attractive in other countries?
Yes, and that is where our aspiration for going international, simply because uh, today we are seeing close to 192 networks coming up globally on 4G. Let me just take a minute here to explain slightly more. India is rolling out 4G network now, which is slightly different from what it was when we were rolling out a 2G or a 3G network. Earlier, we were probably 10 years behind the world or 15 years behind the world, but we are slightly ahead or at the same time maybe at par with a lot of other economies globally. So yes, this sector is equally lucrative because a lot of 4G networks are coming up, and 4G, which is giving voice and data both on your phone at high speeds, is going to be the order of future. If you realize your data bills are nowadays higher than your voice, that's what I'm seeing in the country. So with 290 4G networks coming up and we honing our skill sets here, globally telecom is a lucrative industry.
Once again, thank you, Deepak, for sharing with us, or in particular with our Knodis, the global and local telecom scenario and what is required of aspiring graduates to be successful in that industry. Knodis, stay tuned for the next career chat, which will be very soon. Do take note that the Knod Career chats will be available through the Knod YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.